Well, it's Tuesday afternoon, and so it's time to talk a little fantasy football. Are you ready for some football in Arnie's Fantasy World of Sports? Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to do a sole segment tonight just on the wonderful sport of pigskin, and we're going to take a look back at some of the players that were really good last week and who you might want to be adding this week. I guess you saw today where the Texans, they are growing a little tired of Carlos Hyde and Duke Johnson. Carlos Hyde carried the ball 10 times for a paltry 19 yards in week 3. And so what might the Texans do? Well, they worked out C.J. Anderson, former Denver Bronco great, last year L.A. Rams savior. Remember when they lost their star running back and C.J. stepped in and just did a great job in place of Todd Gurley? Well, he worked out today for the Texans, and we'll wait and see word on that. But it might be a sneaky ad to go ahead and add C.J. Anderson. He's only 28 years old. And, I'm not quite sure why the Lions cut him, other than they want to make, of course, Kerryon Johnson the number 1, number 2, and number 3 ball carrier. I kind of get that. But I'm surprised, frankly, somebody hasn't picked him up before now. And so he may become a Texan this week. If he's added to the roster, then look for him to start. Kansas City, so far this year, they're allowing the 9th most points to fantasy running backs. So he could do worse going to play in Texas. We'll see. We'll see. Keep your eye on that one. I kind of like him as an ad this week. Just a spec ad, of course, but if he lands, he plays. And so we're all looking for those running backs, and, well, there are a few more. How about Wayne Gallman? Speaking of running backs, let's do a little segment on that. We know that he is going to be filling in for Saquon Barkley. Barkley with that high ankle sprain. It's expected per ESPN's Adam Schefter, he will be out a minimum of 4 and a maximum of up to 8 weeks. It's up in the air whether the Giants put him on the injured reserve or not. If they put him on injured reserve, he's out 8 weeks, and that would be the max on the injury period. And it might be that they do that so they're not tempted to bring him back too soon. Now remember, Saquon Barkley, he's number 1 draft pick in a lot of fantasy leagues this year. So, this guy's good, right? He's really good, and he's what the Giants have in that backfield to go with the new rookie quarterback Jones. But in the meantime, it's expected that Wayne Gallman will fill in, not expected to duplicate Barkley, but he will get the opportunity. The only other back currently on the Giants roster is Elijah Penny. And so if C.J. Anderson doesn't sign with the Texans, I wouldn't be one bit surprised to see him sign with the Giants. Now, that's where Gallman is a little risky. As long as the Giants stick with what they've got now, Gallman is going to get the opportunities. But the moment that he no longer is the number 1 back, it's just kind of a chancy move, don't you think? Adding Gallman when you really don't know what you're getting in that situation. But for now, they're playing Washington Sunday. You can't beat that for opposition. Did you guys watch the Redskins last night? Trubisky for Chicago, he's not a good quarterback. Come on. Yet he, in the second quarter alone, threw 3 touchdown passes. So I look for the Giants to score on the Redskin defense in droves. I really do. And so Gallman could be very big in that scoring process Sunday for the Giants when they take on the Redskins at home in the Meadowlands. So Gallman, again, another running back I'm looking to add this week off of waivers. But I'm not done. No. Darrell Williams for Kansas City. Now, I really like this kid a lot. And I'll tell you why in just a moment. First of all, you've got Shady McCoy, of course. LaShawn McCoy came over from Buffalo in the Kansas City offense. I think he's the perfect lead back. I think he should be the lead back. But for 2 weeks in a row now, he's gone out of the game early with some type of ankle issue. And he's questionable, as he was last week, questionable to play Sunday. Now, here comes Darrell Williams. Darrell Williams played Sunday in relief, if you will, of Shady McCoy. He ran for 62 yards on 9 carries. He added 47 yards on 5 catches in the 33-28 win over the Ravens. And one of those came on a real nifty run where he cut up field on an outside run, gained 41 yards, and he got tripped just before he was able to head into the end zone. He only got 14 touches, but if he plays, he produces. And in those 14 touches, he gained 109 yards, which is a testament to his skill set. And if LeSean McCoy, let's put it this way, if you're a LeSean McCoy owner, you need to go out today and add Darrell Williams as a handcuff, because there's a chance Sunday that LeSean McCoy doesn't play, and if he doesn't, Darrell Williams will. Another running back that I really like, and I watched it last night. And the Redskins, don't get me wrong, the Redskins are bad. But they're going to throw the ball a ton. And I'll talk about a wide receiver in a few minutes that I really, really, really like. But I like Chris Thompson. I like him playing out of the backfield, not for necessarily his rushing yards. He rushed 7 times last night for 29 yards. But it's what he does in the passing game for the Redskins, who will be behind more times than not. He caught 4 of 5 targets for 78 yards Monday night in the 31-15 loss to the Bears. He had a 33-yard catch and run toward the end of the third quarter. He got over 100 yards from scrimmage. Those were season highs. Now, Adrian Peterson, he led the team with 12 carries, but Thompson is clearly more efficient with the per-touch average per yard, 4.1 yards per carry compared to Peterson's 3.1, and far superior in the passing game. And, I like Washington offensively for fantasy because of the fact they're going to be behind. And I like 3 players in that offense. Okay, I like Thompson at running back. Obviously, I like their quarterback. And while I'm into it, let's go ahead and talk about him, Terry McLaurin, the wide receiver. I mean, I really didn't know what to expect last night, McLaurin against the Bears, did you? What I got was this. He caught 6 of 8 targets, 70 yards, and a touch. He has had an incredible start. He's the first player in the league to catch at least 5 passes and a touchdown in each of his opening 3 games. He's a speedster. We know that. Case Keenum is a fantasy gold quarterback this year. Look for Case Keenum to throw 40 to 45 times a game. Now, last night, 5 turnovers. And there's your Achilles heel. But interceptions don't affect McLaurin. He now has 16 receptions, 24 targets. He's averaging 8 targets a game. 257 yards, 3rd in the NFL in yardage for receivers, and 3 touchdowns. I like McLaurin. Wait a minute. I love McLaurin in fantasy. And if he's available on a waiver wire in your league, you need to go get him. Let's go back to running backs. Now, I know it may be short term, but in fantasy football, don't you play week to week? In some ways, I mean, you got a superstar. You got 21 for Dallas. You're going to play him every week. I get it. You got Eckler for San Diego. You're going to keep playing him every week. But if you needed to fill in with a running back, how about Rick Burkhead? Particularly while James White is out. Here's what Burkhead throws in. He averaged over 4 yards a carry, 11 carries for 47 yards. He got a touchdown. He caught 6 of 7 targets for 22 yards. If you're in a half-point or a full-point PPR, Burkhead seems to be a favorite of number 12 in New England, Mr. Brady. Welcome to the neighborhood. His touchdown came from 2 yards out in the third quarter. He did split work with Sony Michel, who had 11 yards and a touchdown on 9 carries. But Michel is only averaging 2.4 yards per carry, while Burkhead is almost doubling that at 4.7. So it's very possible, if not likely, that Rex Burkhead takes on a larger share of carries if he continues to outperform his teammate 2-1 on yards per carry, and His receiving is exemplary. Now, I believe he goes down in value once White returns. I'm not sure if White, I guess White will be back. He was home for the birth of a child. If White is back this week, maybe Burkhead is too much of a reach. That's when I go back to Gallman, to Williams for Kansas City, to Thompson. And here's another one. How about Ronald Jones for Tampa Bay? Yeah, I know Tampa Bay, not a great running team. Okay, I got that. But he had 121 scrimmage yards, 14 carries, 80 yards. Not shabby. Almost 6 yards a carry. Caught his only target for a 41-yard gain. He had one carry more than Peyton Barber, but significantly outplayed him. Okay? He's shown the capability to produce 5.3 yards per carry on the season. Excuse me. And he'll need to keep that up to stay ahead of Barber on the depth chart. But he plays against the Rams Sunday. Not a great opponent to go against. But he's at least getting the opportunity to excel. These are just a few of the running backs that I think are so important. I want to talk about a position that is tough for me. And it's tight end. If you're in a league that has the tight end position by itself, typically that's a tough one. So let's talk about Jordan Akins for a minute for the Texans. And I know I started out with the Texans in running back. I'm going to do it in tight end too. Atkins caught 3 of 5 for 73 yards and 2 touchdowns against the Chargers this past week. Wide open on his first, a 15-yarder. The second was a 53-yard catch and run. Now, Deshaun Watson was scrambling around. It's a busted play. Atkins was alone in the middle of the field. And from there, Atkins ran it in untouched down the sideline. Single game highs in targets, catches, yards. Scored the first of 2 touchdowns his career in Houston. Now, the Texans getting their tight end involved is a departure from what they had done in games 1 and 2. And it could be a one-game anomaly. But when you're looking at tight end, Atkins could be an answer. Give you another one. What about the kid for Seattle? If you're taking a look at him, Disley, are you dissing Disley? Did you think that, or did you draft him? And did you know they're playing the Cardinals and the Cardinals rank last against defending the tight end? Disley, 6 of 7 for 62 yards in the loss to the Saints on Sunday. He now has 3 touchdowns in 3 games. He was only out-targeted by Tyler Lockett, who had 7. Disley continues to be the run-blocking label, but he's also now a top receiver, which makes him a top waiver wire pickup going into Week 4. The Cardinals have allowed 319 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns to tight ends through 3 games. I just told you, worst in the league. Disley, add him as your tight end. This week, you got the best matchup you'll have against a tight end, and Disley's a player I think that you got to go grab. How about that for advice? So let's talk about some more players. And how did you do in your league this week? I want to talk about a league I'm in. I'm in it with Phil Chaplin, okay? So I go online today and I'm looking at how we all did last week. I look at the league. I look at the scoreboard. I go to week 3, and I'm feeling pretty good. It's a head-to-head. I played the Sith Lord in my league, Van Horn. Beat him 165 to 113. I'm feeling pretty good. Then I look down at the Guru Chappie, who scored 176.5 points. Yeah, way to go, Chaplin. We were putting it up. Between us, we combined. How about that? We combined for 320 points. Are you kidding me? Wait a minute. 340 points. My math is off. Excuse me, Chaplain. I don't mean to disregard you or diss you. We combined for 340. So I look at Chaplin's team. Let's see who he had performing for him. Well, he has two quarterbacks, Kyler Murray and Josh Allen, killing it. But that's not where he won. Mike Evans, 8 receptions, 190 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And for that, Mike Evans is my choice for wide receiver of the week. He also has a guy named Christian McCaffrey, who had 153 yards and a touchdown. Those two players alone scored 69.5 points for Mr. Chaplin. That's right. Now, where did he go wrong? Well, he's got Calvin Ridley, 1 catch for 6 yards, 0.5. Look who he's got on his bench, man. He's got Daniel Jones on his bench, who scored 47 points. Imagine if he had started Josh Gordon with 11 instead of Ridley with 0.5. He'd have had 10.5 more points. He'd had 187 points. Good job, my friend. Let's look at my team, who scored 165. So where did I get my points? Russell Wilson, 49 points, the top scoring quarterback in the league last week. So I give kudos to Russell Wilson, who got me 49 points, 406 yards, and 4 total touchdowns. And there's a lot of balance after that. I picked up Aguilar off of waivers. He got 8 catches for 50 yards and 2 scores, got 21 points. T.Y. Hilton, 16 points. The Carolina defense, 2 interceptions, 20 points. It was a ho-hum day for Ezekiel Elliott and Austin Eckler. Zeke, 14 points on 125 yards. Eckler, 10.5 points on 36 yards. But in a week where the quarterback, the defense excel, I didn't need so much for the running backs. Kind of like that. I kind of feel like I got a secret weapon, you know. What about other players? Well, let's take a look. And we're looking at week 3, going into week 4. Cooper Kupp. Any of you guys Cooper Kupp owners? He burns the Browns on Sunday night for 102 yards on 11 catches and 2 touchdowns. And every report you read about Cooper Kupp in the preseason was not only had he fully recovered from his season-ending injury last year to his knee, but he was even faster this season. Apparently so. And apparently he has not dropped the mantle of being a favorite of his quarterback, Mr. Goff. 12 targets, 11 catches, just in a half-point PPR, that's 5.5 points if he doesn't do anything but catch the ball and fall down. But then you get 102 yards and 2 scores. He's gold. Tell you another receiver I really like, and I like him going forward because of the circumstances. I love Philip Dorsett for New England. Last week, 6 catches, 53 yards, and a touch. He had 2 carries, oh, by the way, for 12 yards. Former first-round pick, 2016. Now he's in the starting lineup without anyone blocking his way. And I just can see Dorsett picking up and making some big numbers this year. How about rookie Kyler Murray, quarterback? 30 of 43, 173 yards, 2 touchdowns. He did have 2 picks, but there's just something special about that kid. Mecole Hardman, wide receiver for Kansas City. 97 yards and a touch. He's going to continue to put up numbers. How about some disappointment? How many of you guys drafted Mike Williams thinking that this was going to be some kind of incredible breakout year for Mike Williams? The former Clemson All-American, first-round draft pick. Now he's starting every game. But he only caught 3 balls Sunday, 45 yards, no touchdowns. I know he was hurt, but how about Keenan Allen? 17 targets. So instead of Phillip Rivers sharing the load, he's throwing even more so to Keenan Allen. Now, reports read the Chargers are trying to emphasize Williams as a red zone option, but it isn't happening. It's like he's boom or bust, and so far he's been bust. So come on, Mike Williams. I got you on some teams. Let's pick up the pace, my friend. I need some points. I need them badly. Let's take a look at the chat room. See what you guys are talking about tonight. We're going to talk about some quarterbacks here in just a moment. What about the Pittsburgh rookie quarterback? How many of you were thinking it was going to be just a bust-out game for him and we were concerned about Daniel Jones with Pittsburgh? But it sure doesn't look that way. I was really disappointed with what I saw Sunday coming out of Pittsburgh's quarterback. Pleasantly surprised at what I saw coming out of Daniel Jones. And I think about Daniel Jones. Don Quixote was on this morning. Aloha from Kevin Hastings. Good to have you in the chat room, Kevin. Good evening. There will be no other show tonight after this one. By the way, guys, Chappie is really busy this week with some personal things of a good nature, okay? You don't know, personal doesn't mean bad. It's of a good nature. And I've got this cold, and so one show is about all I've got in this voice of mine, and you can probably hear it scratching a little bit now. But we're going to go one at least. How about that? But I look at the Giants, and I think about the receivers and the pass happiness of this team. And so is there anybody out there that might be on waivers? And I go straight to Golden Tate, suspended for the first 4 games of the year. But guess what? Game 4 is this week. And after this week, Golden Tate is available, if he's available. Go get him. Go at him. I'd rather have Golden Tate right now than Mike Williams. I just see Golden Tate getting a lot of catches. And so, as I said, go stash C.J. Anderson. I want you to also take heed and think about stashing Golden Tate. There's another player that I want you to think about if it's not too late to get him. And it may be too late. But let's take a look at Herndon, the tight end for the Giants, who also was suspended for 4 games, has a bye week this week. He's a favorite of Darnold's. And when Darnold comes back in week 5, so will Herndon at tight end. I like that. Just trying to give you some tidbits on players you may want to go add. Keep your eye on them. C.J. Anderson, Herndon. We talked about a giant wide receiver. And I want you to take notes, guys. This is important. And are there others? How about, here's a dark horse, DJ Chark. DJ Chark has scored 3 touchdowns in 3 games for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Caught 4 of 5 targets for 76 yards in week 3. He is their number 1 receiver. He's now had at least 55-yard receiving in all games, 75 yards twice. Minshew looks Chark's way on single coverage almost every game. He's wide receiver 3 at a minimum. They go to Denver for week 4. Not exactly your best defense, guys. DJ Chark. The thing is, could you trade a popular wide receiver for possibly a running back and add DJ Chark off of waivers? I'm in a 14-team league, and he's on waivers as I speak. I'm looking at it. To me, he is the clear choice to pick up, to add to your roster. I'll tell you another guy that's on waivers in this league, and he's not going to be a big touchdown maker, but in PPR leagues, Cole Beasley, he caught 8 of 10. 48 yards, not a lot of yards, but his 10 targets clearly lead the team. He's Josh Allen's security blanket. Hasn't scored, not a lot of upside, but he's going to catch a lot of balls in Buffalo. He had 83 yards receiving the week before on 4 of 4 targets against the Giants. Again, he's not going to give you the upside of a DJ Chark Jr. for Jacksonville, wearing number 17, who has a bye week in week 10. But he is going to give you consistency. So it all depends on the makeup of your team. And these are just things to look at. Let's take a look at the schedule coming up this week, week 4. Of course, you know, Thursday night, we all kick it off. Thursday night football. As we go to week 4 and look at the schedule, we've got Thursday night, a great one. Eagles at the Packers. The Eagles are 1-2. The Packers 3-0. Then we get into Sunday 1 o'clock games. Raiders are at Colts. That should be a good one. Redskins are at Giants. That should be a good game. Chargers are at Dolphins. That should be a suck game. Panthers at Texans. I'm looking for C.J. Anderson to start, and I also want to see what Allen does for the Panthers starting his second game. You know, the last 2 games the Panthers have won have been when Allen's been the quarterback. Chiefs are at the Lions. 2 teams who have not lost yet at 1 o'clock Sunday. Patriots at Bills. 2 undefeated teams, both at 3-0. Browns at Ravens. Titans at Falcons. Bucks at Rams. Seahawks at Cardinals. Jags are at the Broncos. The Broncos are 0-3. The Jags, I think the Jags win in Denver. The Vikings and Bears, love that one at 4:25. CBS game. I think the Vikings win in Chicago. Cowboys and Saints Sunday night. Oh, we'll see what Teddy Bridgewater has for the Cowboys, right? And then Monday night, a couple of 0-3 teams. The Bengals and Steelers next Monday night on ESPN. Bye teams this week are the 49ers 3-0. And the Jets 0-3. So let's look at our schedule, look at some players. Guys, I got to call it a day. This voice of mine just is not working yet as well as it should, but it's great to be with you. Thank you for being with me in the chat room. Have a great Tuesday night, and I'll be talking to you again Thursday morning on Arnie's Fantasy World of Sports.